The Assembly Committee on Criminal Justice and Public Safety held a formal public hearing to hear from community partners on a bipartisan bill establishing a task force on missing and murdered Black women and girls. The legislation comes as homicide rates for Black women and girls in Wisconsin nearly doubled from 2019 to 2020, the highest increase of any state in the country. The National Crime Information Center reports more than 90,333 Black women and girls were missing in 2020. Democratic Representative Sheila Stubbs says a task force is needed in Wisconsin because there is a lack of critical data and information required to fully understand how widespread the issue is.
I'm literally building this infrastructure from the ground level, but it's the national organization like Community Justice Action Fund who's been that partner for me, where I've been able to talk to some other national organizations.
Stubbs is the bill's lead author. She has remained the front runner on pushing the legislation forward. A bipartisan group of lawmakers in both the Assembly and Senate have backed the bill. Among them, Republican Senator Jesse James, a former fire and police chief, was present during this week's hearing. He called the present data on African American femicide rates alarming, stating the task force would help to develop evidence-based decisions and policies. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes also testified about how the committee would help to better coordinate information on missing people and expand resources within his department.
We need law enforcement to have the necessary resources to begin to collect the data, to begin to give the resources to families, to begin to assign the detectives to do the work that's necessary. You can't change these outcomes unless you bring that most important partner. And I would say the partner who's going to make the difference is law enforcement.
Stubbs says 17 people would be on the task force, a variety of legal experts, law enforcement officers, and gender violence coalitions. They would collaborate on solutions to combat the current crisis around femicide or gender-based violence, what happens when a person is killed or harmed because of their gender, and in more common cases because of their race. The bill sets a December 15 deadline for Attorney General Josh Call to establish and appoint people to the task force. Funding may be a sticking point. Stubbs requested $30,000 to fund the project, but Call says nearly $400,000 will be needed to make the task force fully operational. While the proposal received support from all members of the committee, some members raised concerns on whether the legislature could manage the fiscal impact the task force was projected to have.
I just hope that we as legislators are willing to put our money where our mouth is and make sure that there is some appropriation with that, because if we don't have the money to back it up, I'm afraid that the task force isn't going to be able to take care of its objectives.
As the end of the legislative session approaches, Stubbs is hopeful that the proposal will be voted out of committee and make it to the Assembly floor for a vote. She said she doesn't want funding to be the reason why this bill doesn't move forward.